Hello friends, welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing with you my recommendations for fall movies and books for both you and your kids. Let's get started. Okay, now before we even move on, I'm not putting this one on the recommendation list because it's kind of a given. Everybody's gonna watch it, and if you're not watching this movie during the season, what are you even doing with your life? Hocus Pocus, it's there, we're gonna watch it. I don't really need to recommend this to you, do I? No. Okay. With that being said, we are going to start with movies, and we are gonna start with the kiddos. So my first recommendation is, of course, Coraline. If you haven't seen this one, this stars a very young Dakota Fanning as Coraline. It is a very creepy, kind of vaguely sinister story with really creepy stop motion animation. So the movements are really jerky and that kind of lends to the feel. It's just a really fun movie, and it really kind of drives home for both kids and parents alike. Seeing what you have and seeing what you want, and and maybe what you have is better than what you want. What is the rule? The 80-20 rule. You're only getting 80% of what you want, so the 20% looks pretty good. But if you go toward the 20%, you're really losing out. It's that kind of story. So there's definitely a moral to it. But the imagery is really beautiful. Terry Hatcher is fantastic in it, and it's highly recommended that you guys watch this with your kiddos. I would say most kids could handle this. The imagery isn't super duper creepy until the mother, the bad mother that is, really gets going, and then it can be maybe a little bit disturbing. But you of course know your kids, and I leave it up to you to kind of discern whether your kids can handle something that's vaguely creepy or not, because you're gonna know better than I do. Okay. My next pick is Casper. Casper is a fun one. It takes me back to the 90s. Can I keep you? Right in my teenage heart. Who didn't love Devon Sawa in that movie? Oh my gosh. Oh, so cute. Now, obviously, this is a film that is based on the classic cartoon character of Casper. It's live action. He's CGI if you haven't seen it. It's really cute. Non-threatening, not really scary, maybe noisy more than anything, and a little sad at times. It's definitely a story that doesn't necessarily have a totally perfect 100% happy ending, but it's really good. Catherine Moriarty is really, really great in it. You know, if you've ever, she's got that really husky kind of voice, like that smoker, like whiskey voice for a woman. So she's fantastic in it. It also stars Bill Pullman and the fantastic Wednesday Addams herself, Christina Ricci. But definitely check it out if you guys need a kids movie that's definitely got the Halloween feel without all the fright. My next kids movie is The Witches. This is a story that's based on a Roald Dahl book. It stars Angelica Houston, who is fantastic as the Grand High Witch. The basic plot of the movie is about a little boy named Luke who goes to an English hotel with his grandmother, and they basically stumble into a plot to turn all the kids in England into mice by witches. He and another little guy named Bruno actually get turned into mice, and you see them and the grandma kind of battling the Grand High Witch the entire time. I mean, Angelica Houston could read the phone book and she could probably make it entertaining. She is really, really good in this movie. She's got a lot of sass. She's a snob. The dynamic between her and Bruno's father is hilarious. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. My next pick is one you may not have heard of. It's definitely not a classic, but it is a cult classic. It's quirky, it's a little offbeat, kind of cheesy in the most wonderfully 80s way possible. They do anniversary screenings every year, and that is The Monster Squad. This is about a group of kids who have a monster club. They like watching monster movies, and it just so happens that the vintage Universal monsters, you know the ones, Dracula, Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, all of them descend onto their town, and the kids have to join together to fight them. Now, please be aware that this movie was made in the 80s. It is very un-PC, just so you know. There is swearing in this movie, And there is not the F word, but the other F word in this movie. I want to give you guys full disclosure here. It is said by the school bully, and he is almost immediately punished for it by one of the protagonists named Rudy. So just kind of be aware of that. But if you are okay with your kids seeing 80s movies when, you know, when we were kind of exposed to stuff that might be unthinkable today, then definitely check this one out. I would stick to this movie for kids 8 and above. If you have sensitive littles, maybe avoid it. Some of the scenes can be a little bit intense, and Dracula is played fantastically and pretty intensely by the actor, but he's really, really good. He's huge. He's like 6'3", so he's a big guy. It stars Tom Noonan as Frankenstein. It's one of the films where you actually get to see him play a good guy. He's often cast as a villain. He's enormous. I think he's like 6'5", something like that. Oh, in fact, he played the original Francis Dollarhide. If you are a fan of the Hannibal book / movie universe, then you are probably familiar with that character. He actually played him in The Mindhunter in the 80s movie version of Red Dragon. I watch this movie every year. It's one of my Halloween traditions. I watch this in Hocus Pocus. Hands down, have to see those two at least. So definitely check it out if you haven't. I believe it might be, if it's not on Netflix, I believe it's on Prime. Yeah, so definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. And of course, my last pick for Halloween movies is It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. This is another one that I watch every year during Halloween. We watch it actually every Halloween night when we get home from trick-or-treating. It's a long-standing family tradition. It's well-loved, well-known. I mean, who doesn't love the Peanuts gang? And if you guys haven't seen it, you're missing out. It's adorable. Definitely see it. It's very short, it's not scary, and it's very, very hopeful, shall we say. Linus himself is really, really hopeful. As is Charlie. I think Charlie's an optimist. As much as he tries to disguise himself as a pessimist, he keeps trying. And Linus is definitely the optimist in this one, if you haven't seen it and are unaware of the plot. But definitely check it out. And that one is absolutely appropriate for all ages. Speaking of the Great Pumpkin, we're going to get to the kids' book recommendations. They do have a children's book version. In fact, I own it. And it basically just follows the plot line of the movie. There's no big twists or turns in this one. They do credit the author as being Charles Schulz, who, if you have been living under a rock, invented the Peanuts gang. And it's beautifully illustrated. It's got these beautiful bright colors. You see, you see Linus and Sally and Lucy right here. But it's really, really cute. It's got lots of bright illustrations, so kids really love it. Again, it just follows the movie pretty much perfectly. So definitely highly recommended. We will be reading this on Halloween. Looking forward to it. And then my next one, I actually don't have it here with me right now, but I'll pop a picture of what it looks like. And that is Penguin and Pumpkin by Selena Yoon. This is a really cute one. Again, it's got lots of cute illustrations. This one is less Halloween themed and more just fall. It features a cute little penguin who is on a mission to get the perfect pumpkin for a little one waiting at home who is too small to go to the pumpkin patch themselves. It's really, really cute, adorable drawings. But this is perfect for if you need a story that's just fall related, or maybe you're not into Halloween, what have you. This one's pretty neutral. My last recommendation for fall reading for you and your kids, Room on the Broom. Room on the Broom. Room on the Broom by Julia Donaldson. This, if you have not read this book, please run out and pick it up. This is such a lovely, lovely book. They do have a cartoon version of the book on Netflix, and it stars Gillian Anderson as the witch. There is not a lot of dialogue. Simon Pegg actually narrates it. It is such a sweet, wonderful story. Again, not really specific to Halloween, mainly just specific to fall. The illustrations are really, really great. A lot of great fall colors. It's a rhyming book, which if you are maybe not the most prolific or effective storyteller, definitely try rhyming books with your kids, because the natural cadence and rhythm of the rhymes makes you sound better than you are. And I mean, you should be reading to your children like as much as possible anyway. But yeah, definitely check this out. It is such a sweet story. It's such a good book. The very first time that I read this to my children, they fell in love with it, and it has become a favorite in our house. So definitely high on the list. In fact, this is probably my #1 fall recommended book for children. Absolutely awesome. Love it. Now we are on to the grown-ups. Again, we are going to start with movies. And my first pick is, of course, the Tim Burton classic, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. If you have not seen this one, this is a great one. It's not really scary. It's definitely just that quirky Tim Burton feel. Michael Keaton, who plays the title character of Beetlejuice, he is so good in this movie. If you haven't watched a lot of his work, Michael Keaton does crazy really, really well. So definitely watch this. He's a smart aleck. He's a ne'er-do-well. He causes a lot of trouble and chaos wherever he goes. He gets the two main protagonists, Barbara and Adam, into a lot of trouble. They are played by Gina Davis and a very young, very svelte Alec Baldwin. They get into a lot of shenanigans thanks to him. It stars Winona Ryder as Lydia Dietz. She's lovely in the film. And then probably my favorite character is definitely Delia Dietz, played by Catherine O'Hara. She is fantastic in this movie as well. She gives a really, really great performance, and it's just a lot of fun. Kids could watch this movie. I feel I watched this a ton as a kid. You know, I'm a kid from the 80s, and most of us watched this film, and it's kind of a beloved classic for that reason. I noticed, and it's kind of become like a cultural phenomenon again. Like, my niece is going to be Lydia for Halloween this year, and my niece is 13. So it definitely has staying power. There is one F-bomb in this movie, but that's about it. Other than that, it features I would call it like cartoony gore, nothing too crazy. And I realize I'm talking about this movie like most people haven't seen it, but you never know. Maybe somebody watching hasn't seen it. And if you haven't, you definitely should check it out, because this is just like peak Tim Burton awesomeness. Definitely watch. My next film, definitely The Blair Witch Project. The grand dame of point of view films. Found footage. Fantastic. Really, not necessarily horror, there's not a whole lot of violence or anything like that. What makes this movie really, really great is the tension that is built up throughout the film. You see a lot of weird, creepy things that kind of start to happen, and it just kind of gets jacked up from there, and you see the actors really responding to it. Most of us have seen this. It started the whole found footage kind of phenomenon, and really did it better than almost anyone we've seen. It's not slick. It looks found, and a lot of people actually thought it was actually really found footage. Just see it. If you haven't seen it, definitely see it. Pop some popcorn. If it's a beloved classic for you, pop some popcorn, grab a blanket, and prepare to be creeped out, because it's really, really good. My next film for grown-ups is, of course, the John Landis classic, An American Werewolf in London. Please do not get this mixed up with the less awesome An American Werewolf in Paris, because they are completely different. It's got a lot of quirky humor. It's pretty scary, I would say. Maybe the most intense scene are when they're the beginning, when they're on the moors, and maybe the London Tube scene is kind of intense. But other than that, it's mostly just frightfully fun. It's not, it doesn't take itself super seriously. And while this film is gory, he said John Landis somehow makes the gore really, really fun and funny even. You will see the people who are murdered by the werewolf repeatedly throughout the film actually talking to the werewolf, and it's just, he manages to do it with a lot of humor. If you've never seen it, I am almost 100% positive that you are familiar with at least one body of John Landis work, and that is Michael Jackson's Thriller. And in fact, if you ever saw the video in its entirety and you're wondering what See You Next Wednesday is all about, watch that film and you'll find out. That scene is definitely not family friendly, by the way. But it's a lot of fun, perfect for Halloween, perfect if you like a little bit of humor with your horror, and I highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. Now, if you are in the mood for something a little bit lighter, a little bit less scary, you can't go wrong with Practical Magic. If you have never seen it, see it. If you've never read it, read it. Now, this of course stars Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman and Stockard Channing and my beloved Diane Wiest. I love her. I think she is highly underrated. If you've never seen her in film, just get a bunch of stuff that she's been in because it's all good. The Lost Boys, Parenthood, Practical Magic. It's all really good. This is a gorgeous, visually stunning movie. It has totally the feel of fall. It has romance, it has danger, it has magic. It's just a great film, perfect for fall, and perfect if you are somebody who's just kind of not all that into scary stuff. Now, my very last Halloween recommendation is, of course, Halloween itself. Again, not the remake, but the original, directed and written by John Carpenter, starring my favorite final girl, Jamie Lee Curtis, as the indomitable Laurie Strode. If you've never seen this, or if you've only seen it edited for TV, definitely pick up a copy. This one I try to watch every year because it is pretty much it's like the original teen slasher classic, I guess you could say. I think it is anyway. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know. I'm not like a horror movie history buff or anything like that, but I mean, I've watched a lot of them. This movie is a lot of fun. Again, it builds up a lot of tension, and it's probably the least like ridiculous, oh my God, how is he getting up again, of all of the Halloween films. I think the Michael Myers mask in this one, which is famously just a white painted William Shatner mask, is definitely the most creepy and the most effective. And why they changed that throughout the films, I don't know, but his face is almost completely different in every film that they do of him. And I don't know why, because it's so fantastic. Like the whole William Shatner thing, it just works. Jamie Lee Curtis is, of course, fantastic in this, and it actually stars Kyle Richards. If you are a fan of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, then you are familiar with that name, and she actually plays one of the children that Laurie is babysitting in this film. It's a lot of fun. It was filmed in Pasadena, not during the fall, so you will notice a lot of green leaves. I love Final Girls, and this has one of the best in it. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of like sinister buildup as well. There's a lot of tension jacking here in a way that is kind of lacking in a lot of modern horror films. And it's, I don't know, it's just really, really well done and simple. It's just like clean lines. If I could describe it like using metaphor, this movie has clean lines. Some of the plot points get a little bit twisty, especially when you get into the subsequent sequels, but it's definitely a great one. Should be on your list when it comes to Halloween movies. Okay, guys, now we're gonna get on to books for grown-ups for the fall. My first pick is by the author Joe Hill, and it is called Heart-Shaped Box. I think it's about an aging rock star. He is kind of maybe like an Alice Cooper type, kind of known for like creepiness and death, and he has this like weird collection that he feels compelled to maintain, and he basically buys a ghost online or a haunted suit online, and a lot of bad stuff starts to happen. If you are a horror fan, I definitely recommend checking it out. Joe Hill has quite a few novels if you want to check those out, and this was actually the first I've read from him, and I am eager to read more. The next two books I want to recommend are also in the horror genre, but a little bit quirkier, and they are both by the same author. His name is Grady Hendrix. I've talked about one in a favorites video, and that is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. And that one is a fantastic little piece of Southern Gothic fiction. It's a lot of fun. It is a little bit dark and heavy in spots, but the way this author writes women, if I didn't know that it was a man who authored the book, I would have just assumed it was a woman, because he writes women insanely well. The relationships, the way they interact with each other, their thought processes, this is how women think, and this is how women function. And the women in this book are just so fantastic. I highly recommend this book. Even if you're not necessarily a fan of horror or Southern Gothic, it's just a really great story about women who maybe aren't in the most powerful position, but who come together and really, and excuse my language here, but they really kick ass. It's a fun read. Again, it's a little dark in certain places, but it's a lot of fun. His other book is a lot of fun as well. Again, a little bit dark, but this is the horror genre. Of course it's going to be. And that is Horror Store. This is a book about a knockoff IKEA that is basically a portal to a weird dimension full of ghosts and goings on. It's a lot of fun. The protagonist isn't, especially in the beginning, she isn't the most likable, but she's definitely somebody who kind of gets her act together by the end of the story and does the right thing. So it's, you know, it's definitely kind of got a final girl element there, and it's definitely got like a redemption arc as well. But it's a lot of fun, and again, the whole kind of IKEA thing, I don't know why, but it works, and it just adds some just like quirky fun to it. I really enjoyed this book as well. My next book, this is an intense one, and that is Those Girls by Chevy Stevens. This book is incredibly intense, and I would say that if you are kind of on the sensitive side, maybe skip this one altogether, because this is the kind of story that tends to linger, and there's definitely violence in this book that's unpleasant, and it deals with a lot of unpleasant subject matters. It's about three sisters who are really young. The oldest is 17. They have an abusive father, and one of them ends up having to kill their father to save another sister, and that's just the beginning. It's an incredibly intense read. Again, a lot of subject matters that aren't necessarily easy to deal with, but the author handles them very skillfully, and she, I don't know, she's just like, she's great at like keeping you on the edge of your seat. And it's a really great read. It's told from two different perspectives, a mother and a daughter eventually, and you'll get into that, how that all comes to pass, because that's all kind of built into the story. But it's a really great book. And one of the reasons why I think this one kind of spoke to me so much is because it involves sisters, and it involves sisters who are incredibly close and who have to kind of fight to save each other. And that aspect really spoke to me as well, because I only have sisters. We're incredibly close. I love my sisters and I like them. And that's not always the case, I'm finding, as I get older and I interact with other sisters. But every so often I run across another girl who's really close to her sisters. And if you are in that category, you just kind of get it, you know? And this book definitely has that element to it. So I appreciated that as well. But other than that, it's a fantastic read, a lot of tension. So definitely check it out. Okay, my last pick for fall reading for grown-ups is definitely a lot easier and a lot less brutal than all of my other ones. This would be like the Hallmark version of all these stories, and that is Pies and Prejudice by Ellery Adams. This is part of the Charmed Pie Shop series, and it takes place in the South, and it stars a gal who is returning home to Georgia from New York after, of course, catching her husband having an affair, and she opens up a pie shop, and all kinds of strange things happen. And she has this group of aunts and her mother who have these mysterious qualities to them. And she actually is discovering that she has mysterious qualities as well. Now, in this book, we just kind of like get a little bit of a taste of who and what they are. And this is a pretty new series to me. I've only read the first one, and I'm waiting for the second one to come. But it's a really fun, easy read. Nothing crazy, violent, or scary. It's just, if you're looking for an easy, comforting read that you can kind of like pull up, you know, and sip a cup of cider or something, you know, during a rainy day. This is that kind of book. It's incredibly readable. and it's just a lot of fun. And Ellery Adams has a very comforting quality to her writing. It's something that I've seldom experienced. I don't usually read books like this. And I thought it was really, really fun, and it's a nice break if you constantly read a lot of like heavier stuff. If you read a lot of horror or science fiction and you're just looking for something that's a little bit lighter, definitely check out her books. In fact, I'm going to recommend another one to you. It's part of a different series. This girl like churns them out. She's got a lot of books, and that is the Secret Book and Scone Society. Again, a group of women in the South. They each have kind of a darker past. They each have a secret that they're not eager to share with anybody else. But they come together to prove a murder and town corruption. And it's just, again, even though it sounds kind of like it would be heavier, it's not. It's just a lot of fun. It's a really easy read. Definitely check it out if you are looking for something that's fun and cozy and light. I am looking forward to reading more, but I have to buy them slowly but surely because I can't run out and spend hundreds of dollars on books, even though I really, really want to. And my library doesn't have all of them available. But definitely check it out if you're looking for a fun, simple read. And I don't mean that. I hope that doesn't sound condescending, because it's not. It's not meant to be. It's still quality writing. And I really, really, I don't want to be like flippant about the subject matter. But it's just readable. That's how I would describe it. It's just readable. Okay, guys, that about wraps it up for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you got some ideas on maybe fall reading or fall viewing for you or your kids. If you like videos like this, I don't often do them, and I'm really inexperienced about it, but obviously these are subject matters that I'm really, really passionate about, and I love talking about them. I thought I'd share my thoughts with you. I hope that these suggestions kind of give you some ideas, even if you don't necessarily pick stuff that's on my list, to kind of start thinking about curating some movies or books that you want to go through in the fall, because especially during this particular fall season, staying in, popping some popcorn, brewing some coffee, making some hot cocoa, and curling up with a book or a movie sounds pretty good. Anyhow, thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you at the movies. Is that copyrighted? And I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.